Let's look here, okay? Because there's something going on with Fantastic Four First Steps that should have Disney Marvel concerned. Concerned. Now, if you remember, Superman opened up with $125 million thereabout domestically. It opened up with about another $95 million internationally. So it put us right around $220 million. And right now, right off the bat, it looks like Fantastic Four, although it's really close and we don't have final numbers yet, it's still going to be a couple of million shy, at least as of now. I have a suspicion that that gap, at least on the domestic box office side, may actually widen a little bit more because some of the estimates after Thursday and Friday were overshot for the weekend. They were talking about Fantastic Four finishing the weekend with $125 million, $7 million more than we're seeing now. What does that tell you? That tells you that if they overestimated it that high, they may still be a bit high. Remember the trends that we always talk about. There are patterns to this. When you come into the weekend and you are dialing little adjustments day to day for your film, usually by Saturday, deadline and whatnot, they have it pretty well pegged. What happened here? How did they get to Friday and say, oh, we think it might actually be closer to 125 or more? And now it's like, oops, it's 118. How did they miss the mark? The movie was front-loaded. The movie is playing out like a traditional Marvel film, just as we told you we thought it would. Now, again, I don't want to hear people whining and complaining about, me saying that was a movie or whatever. I didn't see it. I don't care. I have no interest in seeing it. I've checked out. Mentally, I've checked out of wanting to sit through Marvel films. I was talking to Matthew about this last night, Matthew Marsden. I said, I didn't even really have that big an interest in seeing the next Spider-Man movie. I'm just kind of done. And I think a lot of the audiences are out there as well. I went to go see Superman, not because I was very interested in Superman per se, but I was really interested to see what this new breed of Superman, this new James Gunn era is going to kind of look like, right? So I went to see it for that. But there's nothing here drawing me in. In fact, if anything, it's Pedro Pascal that's like, I can't sit through 2 hours of this dude. But let's talk about what's going on, because Deadline had to do a bit of a mea culpa on this one. And I want to show folks what we're talking about. It started here about 5 days ago with the early projections from Deadline from Anthony DeAlessandro and Nancy Tartaglione saying that they expected Fantastic Four to open between $190 and $210 million. We were looking at, according to them, an international box office projection of 90 to 100 million. This is Wednesday, last week, just a few days ago. And the domestic projection of 100 to 110. So we look at this and we say, well, Valiant, what are you whining about? They actually beat the projections that Deadline had coming into the weekend before it opened. You are correct, sir. They did. However, this is what happened since then. Fantastic Four First Steps a bit lighter at 118 million, but still super in opening. Now, why is it lighter at 118 if they were projecting a top-end range of 110? Okay, we have to back up a few days here because Anthony DeAlessandro does these in a chain. So you have to go back down here to the Friday AM update. And what they're looking at here is because of the Thursday preview numbers and the true Friday, okay, with this Friday midday update, this is where it happened. They said First Steps is looking a lot like Superman right now in its opening. An estimated $56 million on Friday, which was almost the exact same thing as Superman, $56 million. So they projected 2 weeks ago with 56 on a Friday with Thursday previews. Superman did 125. So therefore, if we get the same crest of the box office between Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday, First Steps, Fantastic Four, Pedro Pascal should see about the same as Superman at 125. All the math suggested this was lining up until the math stopped mathing. This is what happened. Sunday AM, and I love the way DeAlessandro has to start this out. because he had called, all right, we're looking at 125 like Superman now that we've got real data in for Thursday, Friday. Okay, he says, so Marvel Studios, Disney's The Fantastic Four First Steps is coming in lighter at 118 million after a 42% slide on Saturday against Friday previews for what was 33.2. We said yesterday, cynics go pound sand, 100 plus million opening for the industry. What major studio wouldn't want that? And I'd agree, what exhibition or what theatrical chain wouldn't want a $100 million movie to open? Theaters are doing great right now this summer, and we're happy for them, but we can't always say the same thing for the studios. Worldwide, the debut is at 218, which is 2 million shy of Superman's initial global pounce. Still, and D'Alessandro can't get out of acknowledging facts here, that is a steep Friday previews to Saturday decline, which indicates the movie was front-loaded. What was Superman's decline from the first Friday 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now, whatever it was, to now, or to the first Saturday, pardon me? 33%. Thunderbolts had a Friday to Saturday decline of 22. Deadpool and Wolverine, 36. Captain America, Brave New World, 32. Now, Thunderbolts, you look at that and you go, oh, that's awesome. Thunderbolts also had the weakest opening of anything on this list by a decent little margin. Plus, it was not a known commodity. But good on Thunderbolts nonetheless. They still finished under $400 million in their box office run, which sucks. For a movie of that scale. And it's Marvel connected, of course. But look at Captain America Brave New World, which opened up not in the middle of summer, but just in a February. And it had a Monday holiday, did it not? I think Captain America Brave New World came out on MLK weekend or President's Day weekend, one of the two. So it had a holiday Monday in there. But Superman came out in the middle of summer in the exact same demographic environment of summer vacation, kids off for school, as did Fantastic Four 2 weeks later. Superman and Fantastic Four are two movies that are going to be compared as their runs continue. And as it looks right now, Fantastic Four does not look like it's going to have the hold that Superman did on the box office as the days and weeks mature. And that's a problem because Disney does not want to get beat by Superman with this movie. They were counting on this being the thing. And when you have a 42% decline, that's problematic. Let's take a look at the actual numbers that happened here. All right. First, let's go back to Superman. Let's look here. 22.5 million on its Thursday previews. Now, people say, well, Superman also had that extra Monday night, Tuesday night, where it did $2 million with the Amazon early access thing that I took advantage of as well. Amazon Prime members went to go see it in an IMAX screen. Now, the issue with that is that, again, with these movies being 2 weeks apart, they both got IMAX. They're both out in the middle of summer. You could make the argument that if Fantastic Four had done the same thing, the audience may have stretched out. It may have still gotten the same opening because some of the people that went Thursday to go see it might have picked up tickets like I did and not go see it Thursday. I went to go see it on a Monday or Tuesday instead. And that was it. I didn't go back to see it a second time. So, but for all intents and purposes, these numbers are pretty close, okay? But check this out. A 33%, a $56 million Friday with Thursday previews baked in, down to 37.6. And then on Sunday, it did 31.3. That's Superman, okay? This is what probably has to have people at Disney nervous. I don't care who wants to argue with me about it. By comparison, look at this. 57, and again, this is still estimated, 33 on a Saturday. So 4 million less than Superman, dropping 42%. And instead of 31.3 million, 27.8 million on Sunday. This looks like a classically front-loaded Marvel film. And that's going to be really problematic because that would seem to suggest this movie is not going to leg out where they otherwise need it to for this kind of film, a big summer movie. Again, Superman on the box office side had an opening weekend of 125. Both of these movies opened on a Thursday, Friday. This was not a full 5-day open, right? This wasn't like Jurassic World It wasn't like Jurassic World where you had a true Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You had a 5-day opener, right? This one had a little preview, one show, only at IMAX on a Monday or Tuesday night. So it was minimal exposure from that standpoint. Both of these movies had the same true 3-day open. When you look here at $125 million, by the time Superman got to the end of its second weekend, it had $236 million. It was getting close to a 2X. Okay, which clearly now it's already gone through its 2X. It's at 289. It's getting close now to where we'll probably, by the time we get to, through this week and next weekend, it's going to be approaching closer to a 3X. I don't know if Fantastic Four is going to get there, considering how the first 3 days at the box office ran down. I also want you to look at Superman, and this will be telltale. Tomorrow, what is the box office going to be? Which we won't know, of course, until Tuesday, okay? But almost 13 million for Superman on its first Monday. A non-holiday Monday again, just a regular summer Monday. But Valiant, it's Bastille Day. Okay, all right, I'll give you that one. The Tuesday was 17.1 million. The question is, what does Fantastic Four do Monday through Thursday this week? If it turns in numbers similar to Superman, okay, it just had a little slip up over the weekend. Chances are, considering how front-loaded this was, I don't know. I mean, the odds are right now that we're not going to see numbers from Fantastic Four that are going to look like Superman's. And I'm not saying they're going to be $5 million tomorrow in box office. I think it might probably still be 10, but it might be 10 instead of almost 13 here with Superman. So that is not going to bode well long term. That means that whatever Superman does right now, Superman is now 17 days in, and it's at $500 million. As of right now, I think Fantastic Four is going to be markedly behind Superman when it's at day 17. I think at most we may be looking at here a total run of a very traditional Marvel style of leg out for Fantastic Four, which is going to be maybe 2.5x, unless something changes. You've got two movies that had similar marketing campaigns, similar budgets, superhero ensemble stories, lots of action, lots of VFX, performing in the same international markets. This is about as side-by-side clean as a whistle as it gets. This is exactly the same demographic audience, by and large, as you can possibly get to two movies in the summer. Let me show you one other thing. On a Superman drop, I forgot to mention this. This is important. This is why I think the estimates are going to come in lower, or the final numbers, are going to come in lower than the estimates. Look at July 13th right here. See where my cursor is on the screen? July 13th, that was the first Sunday. A 33% drop from Friday to Saturday with the previews baked in, and a 17% drop from Saturday to Sunday, still with 31.3 million. Let's go over here. Watch this. If you go to First Steps and you look at the box office on this, 42%. This was the oops, D'Alessandro. Okay. We whiffed on this one. It's front loaded. They're still projecting only a 16% drop. Because again, that 27.8 million figure, D'Alessandro put that out at like 10 o'clock this morning, probably 9 a.m. Pacific time. The country hadn't even gone to see Fantastic Four yet today. Again, that's how Sunday estimates typically work. It's nothing out of the ordinary. My point is that they're estimating a 16% drop on Sunday based on roughly what Superman did. We've already exhibited based on Saturday that did not happen for Saturday. So why do we think the drop for Sunday is only going to be 16%? It might wind up being the case. To be fair, we could get the final numbers tomorrow, and this movie is sitting right at 118 million, and hey, we fixed it, we nailed it after several adjustments, but yeah, okay. I kind of don't think that's going to happen. The odds are that if the audience fell off way more than expected, almost 30% more of a drop than Superman had from Friday to Saturday, then we're probably going to see something similar on a Sunday. That's a 30% difference almost between those two. That's big. That's big. And it shows you that this movie, again, is not going to trend, at least right now, in the opening weekend, while it's not the end-all be-all. And, it's not the end of the road. It's a pretty damn good indicator. Unless something radical changes during this week and into next weekend. And what would be the radical change would be that, effectively, if Disney wants to start boosting these numbers and people showing up, they're not going to just magically start showing up. People have already talked about this. They already said they enjoyed it. They've already made their decision. We saw how it played with Superman. Why didn't it play out the same way here? If Disney's going to want to move the needle on this movie to get it to catch up to what Superman is doing, then that means Disney is probably going to have to spend more money on the marketing budget than they anticipated. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.